Dennis, hello, shalom.
Shalom.
Nice to see you, but I would be glad to meet you in person. I know that you typically arrive in Israel just prior the election. So I think last time we met, I joked that you must know something we don't know because every time you come, we have another elections. Right now, we still have this political crisis. By the way, we still doesn't have a government. Uh, but I know that you were supposed to speak in front of the Association of Corporate Councils in Israel, and your trip, well, we know was canceled, just like everybody's trip were canceled. So it's truly unfortunate, I must say. And you are a former Attorney General of New York, and you are in New York right now. So how is the situation in New York right now? The most important thing.
Well, first of all, thank you again, Dimitri, for inviting me back. You are a very good friend and a gracious host. Unfortunately, I can't be there in the studio with you, but you're correct in pointing out that we did have a trip planned to go to Israel at the beginning of March for a conference with the Association of Corporate Councils. And ironically, as it turns out, that was right in the middle of, we were going to be there again for another election. So you and I need to stop meeting like this around elections. Perhaps we can meet when there's, government in place and no more concerns about the politics of elections.
Next
Uh,
time, I promise I will come to United States during the presidential elections. We'll see how.
Oh, I would love to have you here. It will be an exciting time in November when that election is happening. But again, thank you for having me. The situation here in the United States is very much like what we hear about what's happening in Israel. The economy has virtually shut down, as most states now, I believe 41 states out of the 50 states have enacted stay-at-home orders. So, unlike in Israel, each state has the ability to govern its own economy, if you will, at least in terms of health and welfare. So, 41 states have directed that all the citizens in the state essentially stay at home. President Trump has not enacted a federal mandate that all citizens should stay at home on a national basis because he's left it up to the respective state governors. And frankly, I think that's the correct path for the president to take because there's some states where the COVID-19 virus is much more extensive than in others. For instance, in New York State, because the epicenter in New York or in the United States is really New York City, there's more cases in New York State, mostly in New York City, than virtually all of the rest of the country. So it would be unfair for the president to direct folks in, say, Wyoming or North Dakota, where there's very few cases, to follow the New York example. So here in New York, we are operating under a work-from-home policy. My law firm, Lippis Mathias, has pushed out firm-wide over 100 lawyers to work from home. So we're continuing to service our clients, but under much different circumstances.
You obviously continue to work from the office, right?
If you don't tell Governor Cuomo, yes, today I am in the office, and frankly, there's nobody here, so it's almost as safe here as being at home because there's nobody in the office except for me.
So do you see really the light at the end of the tunnel?
Uh, Thank God, I think that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We just learned this morning that the number of cases in New York State, and again, most of them are in New York City, seemingly have gone down. At least the growth rate was not as much yesterday as it had been in preceding days. So I think that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. While I still expect that from a national perspective, so President Trump has directed that social distancing, in other words, no large crowds. So, there's no Major League Baseball, there's no sports, no organized professional hockey, no professional basketball, no professional baseball. So on a national level, the president has directed a a social distancing policy. Here in New York, Governor Cuomo has directed that we continue the stay-at-home mandate until April 29th. So I'm hopeful that we are over the hump, if you will. We're over the top of this crisis. And frankly, if you watch the stock market in the United States, the last 2 days, the stock market has been very favorable on an uptick. And usually the stock market is predicting what's going to happen in the future as opposed to what happened yesterday. So I think even the stock market is sensing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
There is a huge stimulus bill that was designed by Donald Trump, and as I understand, Congress just passed this largest stimulus bill. Do you think that U.S. citizens will be able to benefit from this Trump's package?
Well, Dimitri, this is a massive infusion into the United States economy. I applaud President Bush for his leadership in this regard. $2.3 trillion will be funneled into the economy from checks going to individual taxpayers. So anybody who files a tax return, so anybody who filed a U.S. tax return in 2018, and if they didn't file in 2018, if they filed in 2019, including U.S. citizens who live abroad. So I know that there are many U.S. citizens that are also Israelis, and many of them are presently residing in Israel. But if they file the United States tax return, they're going to be entitled to the benefits under the CARES Act, C-A-R-E-S, CARES Act, that President Trump pushed through Congress and ultimately signed. Each individual taxpayer, depending upon their income level, so if you're making $100,000 or less, every American who makes under that threshold will receive, every United States citizen who's a taxpayer, including Israelis or Americans that are in Israel, they will be entitled to a $1,200 check that's just going to come from the U.S. Treasury to them. But beyond that, the real impetus, if you will, the real upside of the CARES Act is the money that the CARES Act is going to pump back into businesses, principally to protect employment. So if you're not cutting your employment staff, if you're not cutting your personnel, and you maintain your personnel, you're going to be entitled for grants from the government that they will forgive, loans that the government will forgive to cover the cost of your employees that you keep on during this crisis. Yesterday, we conducted a webinar with over 50 individuals through AmCham, the American Chamber of Commerce, the Israeli branch of the American Chamber of Commerce. We were really pleased, along with our partner, Zika Cantor from the law firm of Cantor Acco in Tel Aviv, to have conducted that webinar. We had a great response, and there was a lot of interest from Israeli businessmen who are doing business in the United States about how they can tap into the economic benefits of the CARES Act.
Mr. Rock, I would like to switch to a different subject. Well, we all are sitting at home right now, and we spend more and more time on the internet. So we know that during last couple of years, I think many Israeli citizens fell victim to various illegal schemes that involved some kind of sale of cryptocurrencies, right? Binary options and so on. So do you think that in these days, U.S. law authorities will continue to prosecute these industries, or, because of the coronavirus, it will be postponed? Or probably later? Yeah,
look, I think that there's a general pause that is going on in the United States, both commerce and the law, judicial. Courts are closed except for emergency matters. Investigations are hard to advance when prosecutors are working from home. I can tell you, without getting into the specifics, that we represent an Israeli who is involved in a case concerning the SEC. and the SEC postponed a trip to Israel because of the COVID-19 crisis. So I think that what's happening here is that these investigations, they have not gone away. They will not go away, but there's a pause. And frankly, there's some legislation afoot at the state level to extend the statute of limitations. So if there's filing deadlines in a case or statute of limitations that might cause a case to be too old, there's a move afoot right now to change that. So what I expect for the future is that once we are beyond this crisis, the regulators are going to come fast because they have to play catch up. And there's cases in the pipeline, whether it's binary options, cryptocurrency, all of the cases that have already been in the pipeline, but there's going to be a new wave, a new tranche, if you will, of cases, and that's going to come out of the stimulus money. The regulators in the United States are going to be looking for individuals who have tried to take advantage of the stimulus money, whether taking advantage of consumers or taking advantage of government. So I see a whole new round of litigation coming after this crisis is over.
Mr. Vacco, as our tradition runs, let me right now switch to Russian and speak with your partner Ян Purizhansky. Ян, мы с вами тоже общаемся постоянно в ходе подобных интервью. Мы следим, разумеется, за тем, что происходит у вас сейчас в Соединенных Штатах, особенно в Нью-Йорке, где очень высокий, на самом деле, показатель заболеваемых болезней, да, в связи с коронавирусом. Как там на самом деле обстоит ситуация? Нехватка медикаментов ощущается?
Да, ситуация грустная. Вот как Деннис Вакко сказал, что hopefully we're over the hump, но сегодня президент Трамп наконец-то договорился, администрация президента договорилась с компанией 3M о том, что 155 миллионов масок N95, вот, про которые мы все время слышим, наконец-то поступят. Пока что нехватка всего медицинского оборудования, всего вообще, что используют медсестры и врачи каждый день. Трамп сказал, что ему оставили пустой склад, вот цитирую его, и, к сожалению, медсестры заворачиваются в шарфики, работают 24/7. В Нью-Йорке ситуация нехорошая, тысячи людей погибли уже, огромное количество, вы статистику знаете в Израиле, вы все видите, так что медикаментов нет вообще. Вот, я видел, что в Израиль прилетели самолеты целые, наполненные медикаментами. Тут ничего сюда не прилетело. Есть бюрократические всякие барьеры для бизнесменов и интерпренеров. Индия закрыла коммерческие полеты, поэтому единственный производитель этого медикаментов и оборудования — это Китай. Так что ситуация оставляет желать лучшего, но будем надеяться, что производство в Америке медицинских масок и других медицинских материалов сейчас ускорится, и что они появятся, наверное, через месяц или через 2, но пока что ситуация очень нехорошая. Вот, но Америка сильная страна, поэтому как-то все выкарабкаются из этого.
Вы работаете из дома сейчас также, я понимаю.
Я дома, да, сейчас нахожусь, слушаюсь. Сижу дома, как все.
Но вы не только работаете с Деннисом Вакко, я знаю, что вы являетесь уже около 20 лет специалистом в области, сейчас скажу, это транснациональная миграция трудовых ресурсов, правильно?
Да.
Мы понимаем, что это все завязано на экономике многих стран, Израиль, включая Израиль, США, Евросоюз, и все это зависит от возможности, скажем так, местных работодателей привлекать иностранную силу. Но, опять же, мы предполагаем, что мир после COVID-19 будет несколько иным, и в этой сфере тоже. Вот ваши прогнозы по этому поводу.
Да, Дима, вообще распространение этой пандемии коронавируса по всему миру, оно в какой-то мере является бипродуктом глобализации. То есть он начался в провинции Хубэй в Китае, в городе Ухань, как мы предполагаем все или даже знаем. Потом эпицентр перенесся в Северную Италию, откуда он распространился. Внутри Евросоюза свободное перемещение граждан стран Евросоюза. Сотни стран имеют так называемые visa waiver agreements друг с другом. Я думаю, что, будущее, конечно, никто из нас на 100% не знает, но я думаю, что это все изменится, и что появятся барьеры, будет сложнее переезжать из страны в страну и на работу, и в эмиграцию. Здравоохранение как-то будет интегрировано в сам процесс транснациональной миграции, и ландшафт, глобальный ландшафт относительно перемещения человеческого капитала, а экономики развитых стран не могут выдержать, даже экономики после эпидемии коронавируса, которые будут меньше, чем экономики, которые были до этого, они не могут существовать без привлечения трудовых ресурсов из развивающихся стран, но это все станет гораздо сложнее, будут больше внимания уделять тому, кто едет, прозрачность относительно личных данных и кто эти люди, и все. Я предполагаю, что все будет сложнее в будущем.
Большое спасибо, Ян. Я бы хотел обратиться к Денису. Денис, my final last, it's not a question. I just want to hope that I will be able to meet you in person here in Israel again soon. So what are your plans to visit us and when?
Well, Dimitri, again, I always appreciate your hospitality. Our plans are to return to Israel as soon as the travel restrictions are over, as soon as life gets back to normal, business life, both here in the United States and in Israel. So here's my wish for the balance of this year, that you and I can be together at least 2 more times this year, once in Israel, at least once in Israel, and once in the United States. I'd be happy to host you when you come to the United States for the presidential election. So that's my hope, that you and I could sit together in person at least twice more in 2020. And let me just say this, again, thank you for your hospitality. I want to wish you and all of your viewers a happy Passover.
Thank you very much for this wish, and please stay safe and healthy. I hope next time we meet, we do have a government in Israel.
Hopefully. No more elections.
Jan and Dennis, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dima.